And it's on me. You don't want to see me, you want to see the car. So 49 is still running great. I haven't driven it a lot. We had a lot of traveling over the summer. We were gone for a couple of months, and then we came back, and then we went again for a few weeks to Maggie Valley, and then we've been on multiple trips since then, and the car has kind of just been sitting here waiting, but I did take it home this past few days. Charlie, you're not going to go out there right now. Anyway, we're getting ready for a big project on the 49. Despite the way that I have been feeling lately, I'm going to get it done. So basically, the issue with the car has been the body control module and the rear fuse panel has been sitting right back in there on the floor, which I've moved some of it out of the way now. But it sits right there on the other side of those blue jumper cables, which, by the way, I've never had to use in this car, which is awesome. Runs great, very reliable. But that's the end of the harness right there. Like, you can't go any further back. I almost could fit the BCM into that hole, but then it would be impossible to get to it. So what I decided to do, let's see here. Hey there, how's it going, Brian? So what I did, I got very fortunate. Every now and then, life will throw a blessing at you. And I think that's what I have right here is a blessing. A guy had a brand new, not brand new, but he had a same year, like new condition Trailblazer. Same engine, same trim, all the same options on it. So, and it was only an hour and a half away from, maybe 2 hours from where I live at. So we went up there and we stripped. I mean, I only wanted basically this plug, the two BCM plugs, and about 4 feet of harness. That's all I wanted. And he said, he agreed to sell me that piece for about $40. He said, just give me 50 and take anything you want out of the truck. So I got the entire harness. I mean, the door harnesses, not every bit of it because I didn't get the rear door harnesses. I only got a 2-door anyway. So I got the 2 front door harnesses. I got the tail light harness. I've got all the main harness, the airbag stuff again. So now what I've got to do is strip out, take all this covering off. And I'm sorry this is vertical, but it just seems to want to make you go to vertical and everybody's watching it from their phone anyway. But long story short, I've got to basically cut this off and pull out at least 4 feet of wire to that end right there where Charlie is stepping on. And that's going to allow me to cut the same plugs off in the car and extend from the end of those wires to the cut end over here and ultimately give me 3 to 4 feet more harness, which will get me through that quarter panel into the trunk. Now, another cool thing is I got the BCM was missing, but I got another rear fuse panel and the mount. So the mount in these things is kind of weird. It sits kind of on I think the edge of the wheel well. So it's very curved and it has very limited options for hacking it up. But now that I've got 2 of them, I could even go as far as cut them in half and 5200 back together and have a flat mount, which would probably work better for going back here in the trunk. So it gives me some options to cut one up and, okay, this is how it's going to go, or that was a bad idea. We'll do a different way. I've got the spare one to do it. So that's basically about the only update of the 49. The air conditioner, I had a leaking line back in, I think I drove it in August, and it blew the line, or it didn't blow it, but all the oil and charge came out. And it was one of the only ones I had not recrimped. So basically, these things are really, they have to be crimped all to hell and back to where it like warps the bottom of it. And then they seem to work fine. So there's only one left now that I haven't really done that way, and it's only the small line that the issue occurs on. But there's one inside under the dash that, you know, I'm worried about that one, but we'll see how it does. Nothing like a car full of Freon. Anyway, so I've got a little bit of a story. I won't be able to tell it to you very good now because it's late. It's been a pretty bad month in a lot of ways. It's another negative video. First of all, trying to sell this thing here has been a real pain in the butt. I shouldn't have bought it. I wanted it, and I got it, and unfortunately, oh, there's still daylight out here. Unfortunately, just heading back for the squirrels. He loves coming up to this property and just running. But he likes to go in those trees back there, which is bad for snakes and ticks, both. Anyway, I've had a couple misfortunes around here. My almost new to me RV that the batteries were installed in the year prior, the house batteries, ended up having at least one of them bad, just not even 2.5 years old. So $1,200 for these particular ones, which are the Costco golf cart batteries, are not really even as good as what should have been in there. But I decided to do a lithium conversion, which ended up being a pretty big project. DC to DC chargers required because the alternator is set up to charge the flooded lead, and you can't charge them together, so you can't just rely on the old clamp solenoid or whatever you want to call it that joins the two battery banks together. So I had to go to a DC to DC for when the engine is running. Once the start batteries are full, then the DC-DC charger will detect the voltage is going up, and then it will output a lithium compatible voltage. So hey there, Wade. Oh wow, we got some people on here tonight. Maybe I should start doing videos again. I hope you guys are okay with this format. Normally I do landscape. I've just gotten to the point where I use my phone for so much of what I do on the internet these days that I hate the tall format, but it does work on the phone good. Anyway, so what I had to do is figure out how can I get that DC to DC charger to only come on when the engine is running, and to allow the spider system to, when the RV is parked, to take over and charge the start batteries from the house battery charger. So hey, how's it going, King? So anyway, long story short, I came up with just a great little idea that seems to work great. That is, I take and remove the ground from the factory solenoid that joins the two banks together through a relay that powers up with the ignition, and at the same time provides the ground to the DC-DC charger. So when the engine is on and making good voltage and the start batteries are full, it will then begin to do a 50 amp charge to the lithium bank. And then in reverse, when you park somewhere, if the start battery gets low, then the factory system monitors that, and as soon as it sees a problem, it sends a signal to do the clamp solenoid. The lithium batteries are sitting there at 14.5 volts or whatever, and the lead acid start batteries are very happy to take that and charge up. So far it's working good. The only problem is the default inverter is I don't know if you guys have even seen this or not, but that's what we spend a lot of our time in these days. Kind of got me out of the car scene. But anyway, the spider system is having a little bit of a problem. Even though the inverter is set for lithium, it doesn't seem to want to top off the lithium batteries. So I'm thinking about just putting a maintenance charger on the lithiums that will do that final little bit of voltage. All right, so the reason I made this video more than anything else was to tell you guys about my horror story. And I don't intend to stop with this. I intend to pursue this situation, but I have no legal remedy. But it's absolutely a very sickening situation. So those of you that have been around a long time probably remember me getting this house and doing a remodel and building the shop and all that stuff that I did when I built the IROC and had the GTRs. Well, I'm a big fan of metal roofs. Not a big fan of the standing seam because they didn't do very well in the hurricane. But I do like the exposed fasteners, you'll call it. So unfortunately I can't go up here to show you guys today. But I've had this roof put on. It was $11,600 on a roughly 1,900 square foot under roof house. In 2017, when prices were much cheaper, it was $11,600. And I had a bunch of problems with them from when they replaced the plywood sheets that were bad, if they found any, which they did find some. But I found plywood that should have been replaced that wasn't. And I called them out on it, and they got very testy with me and said that even though they had already nailed down the expensive titanium underlayment that they had on there, that they were going to replace that when the next screw came the next day, of course. So I found screws that were not all the way in. I found screws that were too tight. I found screws at angles, and there was other problems too. Come on in here. Come here, Charlie. One of the problems was I went up in the attic one day. I'll try to get in here and look at it real quick. I'm probably dragging this story out way too long. All right, let's look at this attic real quick. All right. Also, the hurricane hit in 18, and it basically got all the insulation wet. So I had the insulation pulled out around 2020, and I had spray foam put on. And I was very concerned. I actually wanted blown in, but the guy talked me into the spray foam. You know, if it leaks, it's open cell, it's going to come right through, and you're going to see the leak because you're going to have a brown spot in your ceiling, and you name it, he had an answer for it. So eventually he talked me into it, and I had spray foam put on, and the hurricane, you know, had kind of made me not even think about the original complaints I had with the screws. Well, this is where we are now. I decided I don't like spray foam very much. The R value that I ended up getting was effectively about R8, and it was supposed to be in the 30s, but there were areas that was only an inch thick, and there were some areas where it was 3 or 4 inches, but almost all of it was less than the 3.5 inch truss studs. But this is what happened. He started pulling insulation down, and plywood just started coming off. So it's everywhere, by the way. It's almost any of these runs you can find. At a very minimum, you're going to find the screws. Take this one right here. I mean, you can just push that right up, and it's all over the place. There's a truss right there. Let's see if we can get it. That truss is actually about halfway rotted. Wherever it went to, I can never see it. There we go. So I've got rotten trusses. I've got just places everywhere. And you can blame the spray foam to a certain extent. The spray foam basically held the moisture that got in, but the moisture should never have come in. The screws are leaking all over the place. I can pull screws out. If you go down to that end there, there's 15 screws all together, not a single one in between them that's tight, or that you can even tighten, that they're just like you can pull them straight out. So word of warning, if you get a roof done, I would put that you can have an independent inspector or something come in after they're done and sign off that it's done right, because this little problem right here lovingly is going to cost me $17,000 to correct in unexpected expenses. Come on, let's go outside. So I'm quite sickened by that development, and I'm disappointed because the spray foam was also a total waste of everything. So, you know, that was a few $1,000s that I spent, and now I'm going to have blown in, which the guy gave me a great price to remove it and do it, but it's still north of $5,000 for that. So that little $5,000 turned into $23,000 now on a roof that I just spent $11,600 on in 2017. So yeah, that's my life right now, unfortunately. If you want to know what's been going on, all right, let's go. And of course, prices are crazy. I was quoted, it's $9,000 to redeck the roof. So they're going to have to take the roof off tomorrow, by the way. They're going to take the roof off starting tomorrow morning. All the metal's going to be carefully taken off, and they are going to pull off every sheet of plywood, pull all the nails out, and then nail down the new plywood, and put down a stick down, a high temperature stick down, which is what should have been on here for what I paid. But instead they just went with nail down titanium. It was within code, but it was just like the minimum thing you could put on there, that the screw holes just leak right through it clearly. And I took out some screws up there last week, and every screw I took out had rust on the threads. So it's been wet since way back, not anything just recent. So yeah, I have the house blues. Now, this roof I put on right after the hurricane in 2019. And I went up there the other day and checked it, and every screw is perfectly tight, just like it was when I put it in. and there's not anything backing out. There's no bad wood or no leaks, nothing. And it's spray foam, by the way, at the same time. So it's, if you're going to blame the spray foam, then you could, you would have to factor in that one's got that too. I knew this was going to happen. I complained to the county, and this is what really aggravates me about the situation and why I'm including it in the video, is that I had written an email to the building department here in the county because I discovered that this roofer never had a final inspection done, and they probably might have noticed the almost dozen missing screws where there were holes drilled but no screws in them at that time. But it turns out that at that time, at least, the county allowed this particular builder to self-inspect because they were trusted, because they do a lot of roofs. What are you paying for a building permit for then, is what I'm wondering. So when I went to the county, it was because I first approached the roofer when I discovered some of the issues. Let me tell you where that started real quick. I went up in the attic about 10 months after I had the roof done to put some boxes up there, and I got attacked by wasps. And I realized they were coming out of the vent up top, which by code and just maybe just general common sense should have a screen or mesh to stop things from coming into your house in your attic. So I found that. That's when I realized there were missing screws, and I don't know, there were some other things that I noticed, like some of the screws, a lot of them were crooked and a few of them looked kind of loose. When I went to that company, while it was still under warranty, they became very, very defensive and making excuses and not showing much concern. So I got a little bit fresh with them, and I said, I don't know what I'm going to have to do to get this straightened out. I'd like to get it right, and I probably said something along the lines of, I hope I don't have to go beyond that if you guys aren't going to help, or I don't remember, it's been a long time ago. But their immediate response to whatever I said was that they have plenty of lawyers on their payroll, bring it on. So I kind of backed off. I'm sure it's a very effective line. One guy in a house versus a company making huge profit on their roofs. Their estimate was $3,000 higher than the next estimate, but I went with them because they had the best sales pitch. They had the best reviews on Google, and they had answers for all the questions. They had a very visible, prominent location, but I just didn't really think ahead to like how that success meant they had enough money to have a team of lawyers to keep their record squeaky clean, I guess you could say. Big lessons learned though, guys. Don't make the same mistake. And I don't really have you an answer exactly how to avoid it. I don't know if you've got you could ask them for references, but they're going to handpick people that really like them. I don't know how you truly can find out what the problems are with somebody. But I do like the idea of a third-party inspector, but they have to be independent. A lot of these guys know each other. You call roofer A, he knows roofer B, he might give them a good, or just the opposite. Maybe he doesn't like them and he gives them hell. But yeah, so I have a very costly month here right now, an expense that really comes at an unfortunate time with the economy being kind of the way it is. I'm doing okay business-wise, but clients are, they're definitely feeling the pinch, and my money's not going nearly as far, and my investments are not really growing, so I don't need to spend that money, but here I am spending it. All right, well, I know that was a long and boring, let's go back inside, a long and boring talk about my roof, but I had to put it out there. I wish I could name the company. Come here. I wish I could name the company, but unfortunately, I can't. Come inside. Let's go. Come on. Quit screwing around. Let's go. Get in. Snakes are roaming. It's in the 80 range, and a friend just had a rattlesnake in his yard yesterday, so I don't like him out there running around unattended too much. Yeah, well, anyway, I don't have much to talk about these days, other than the roof and the wiring situation. Life is, it's being all right in some ways and not great in others, but still here for the moment. So I'm going to get started on this wiring. Like I said, I'm going to separate out these two plugs and the main power feed. Can't remember what this is. I think this has more to do with radio system. And I don't think those wires are tied in any way to the BCM. So it's kind of like deja vu from when I did this a few years ago. But it's going to be a nice, clean, all factory connectors, just one joint per wire for the extension. So I feel pretty good about it. What do you want? You want to go outside? Do you want to go outside? You want a treat? Can you crow like a rooster? Speak. Crow. Turn around. 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 Good boy. Lay down. Bang. 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 Yes, he knows he's not going to get a treat for all that trouble. All right, well, that's it. It's been a while. Thought I would just upload that little piece of my wonderful life. I'll try to post again. Thanks for watching, guys.